Let's talk about how we got to Bali. So everyone's seen our stories. We got delayed flights, cancelled flights, lost bags. Anyway, we got to Bali, we landed, and I ended up working out with the bags what had happened. They'd actually sent our bags on the next flight out.
I'll be honest, when I was in Houston, I myself didn't feel safe in Houston. And so when I went through all of this stuff, we just wanted to get back to Bali. When I got into my villa, my nervous system naturally reset. It just dropped in. One thing that truly reminded me when we were going through all this and how I felt in Houston and how I've actually felt over the last probably few months is that my number one value system is safety.
I believe that everything has a strategy, right? So everything has a strategy. To be happy, there's a strategy to being happy. So you think about the happiness, like to bake the perfect cake, there's a recipe. Perfect amount of X, Y, and Z. You got to add things at different times, blah, 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 to get that end result, that cake, right? Same thing as happiness. You've got to take time, you've got to do your breath work, you've got to do things. There's a perfect way and strategy for each person to find that happiness.
You can make 50,000 types of different chocolate cakes, for instance. Some are going to be moist and fluffy. Some are going to be dense and hard. And so it requires
if you ace the strategy, it'll come out the same every single time.
Yes.
I'm excited and I just want to see people win and I want to see other people help other people. I want to create leaders that help others and do the work. What is up, crew, and welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea with Bo and Kirsty. We're full of We're full of We're full of laughter today because we are in a really good mood because we are back in Bali. We are off to Miami this week. It's Harvey's birthday this week.
I know.
We got a lot of socializing.
My baby's turning 5.
Harvey's turning 5.
And my favourite age is 4. And it's so funny because even Noah was like, "Oh, Harvey, you got to make a promise to Mum." I made a promise to Mum when I was 4 that I wasn't allowed to get any older. Like 4 is my favourite age. I love it, and I'm so sad.
He's so funny at the moment. But hey, look, we could do a whole podcast on him.
I just love him. I love him.
I'm going to interview him one day. I can't wait for that moment.
I'm pretty sure you've already interviewed him a couple of times.
I know,
actually.
but not in the actual studio.
I know, yes.
But let's talk about how we got to Bali. So if everyone's seen our stories, we got delayed flights, cancelled flights, lost bags, everything and anything could have happened. And I just want to give a shout out to our family because I know that a lot of families would not have dealt with the pressure that we dealt with over that 24 hours of having delayed flights. We're usually in airport lounges and stuff, but we got onto the plane, on the first plane that we went to take off on, went out to the tarmac we were on the tarmac for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then we came back in and then they said we had to wait. So we waited at the gate. This was our flight was at 10.
Well, hang on. The funny thing about that is that, remember Noah was on the plane and then...
Asleep.
And then I had to go wake him up and he goes, have we even left? I said, no, we never left.
We tricked him. We were like, yeah, we landed. We've already done the flight. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
He was out of it.
Yeah.
But so we came back to the gate at about midnight and then we waited till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, which we were sleeping on the floor. And Harvey was so amazing. We slept on the floor by the gate because there was nothing to do, nothing open.
We couldn't leave the airport yet because we didn't know what was happening because we were meant to be having a flight 2 hours later.
And then then we kept watching the app and it went an hour more, half an hour more till boarding. And then the announcement. Bing bong. Sorry, but this flight's been cancelled.
And everyone's like, oh no. And everyone's running to the gate because it's like, if you want to get on the next flight, come to the gate. And I'm like running because I'm like, we had connecting flights. That was the difference. That was the main thing.
And for once in our life, once in our life, we never plan anything. We always just rock up to a city and book the accommodation. I booked because we had overnight stayovers, overnight. What is it called when you?
Yeah, stayovers.
So I booked a hotel in San Fran for us to go check out San Fran, and I booked a hotel in Taipei, Taiwan, so we could go and have a sleep and break up the flight. And I did
for the first time.
And I had separate bookings. Usually I just book everything through the same thing. And then we got onto the plane, and then that happened, and we got kicked off, and then it got cancelled. And then they gave us like free hotel, free Uber rides and all that, and that was cool. We got back to the hotel. There was like some people in the line, they'd actually got like the next flight out, and they ended up being in the line at the hotel and just leaving. They're like, we just might as well go back to the hotel. Then in the morning, I checked everything. I checked everything on the app. Yep, okay, checked everything. Woke up in the morning, realized that that flight that had automatically given us to get on the next one was actually 2 days later.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but I rang them. I went down on the phone. I was on the phone to them for like hours. They found us a flight that we could get, which would interlock with our next flight. So but there was, the first one was guaranteed. So we got on that, and then that delayed. We were on the tarmac for an hour, and then we drove back to the gate. On the plane, and I was like, you're kidding me. Like, we fly a lot, and this never happens.
This never
I've never really had delayed flights, like, ever. And then we ended up taking off from that, so they did go out and they took off. And then because we were so late, there was no point of using our hotel room.
Yeah.
And then
so we couldn't use our hotel room that we booked, that we never book in advance, and we decided to be organised.
And the next flight that we were getting on we're on a wait list. We weren't, and Kirsty was like, we're not going to get on that, blah, blah.
We're on a wait list for 4 people. For a wait list for 1 person makes sense. Yeah. But for 4 people, I was like, we're not going to get on the other side. This is ridiculous. We're not going to make that fly.
So my thing was
this is where Bo's very good, because Bo, if you know Bo gets what he wants. He always gets what he wants. Get what you want.
That's the song. That's my theme song.
So
basically, we had to run through the airport to the gate, and we're just winging it, like working out what's going on.
And we don't know these airports. Like our luggage is like all the things were happening.
So I went to we were in Taiwan, and I said, I need to be on this flight. I've been on the phone to your crew all day. You guys, like, this is a second flight that was delayed. And we just made it, and the girl there was awesome. Like, she was real cool.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
And it was actually the San Fran to Taiwan flight, I think. And then she came up and she goes, I got you good news. I got your family on. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So that flight was the one that delayed as well. Sorry. That one delayed. We were out on the tarmac. We came back, but we were on the plane, so I was happy. But if we miss that flight, we're going to miss another thing of accommodation and our next flights, which were to Bali. But we just got there, didn't we? We just got there, and then so we missed out on the 2 hotels, and then we just were pretty much airport to airport, and then we finally get to Taiwan, and we're in time for our next flight. And we had to get our bags because it was not a connecting flight.
I said, well, the bags aren't going to be here. I just knew it. I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my soul. And by this time, Bo's in line here. We're waiting on the tarmac, and then the sign comes up saying "end of baggage."
Not tarmac, the belt.
Yeah.
Where you collect
what's
your
that
bag.
called?
You said tarmac.
Yeah, no. What's that thing called?
The conveyor belt.
That's it. Yeah. Anyway, and so it comes up saying "end of luggage," "end of baggage," and I was like, I told you, I knew it. And Bo's over there, and he comes over and he's like, you wouldn't believe it. I said, yes, I do believe it.
So I ended up finding out. So our bags were gone. So we jumped on our next flight to Bali, knowing that we had no bags on this flight.
So we had no clothes. And you have to also imagine, we've come from Japan to Houston, back to Bali, and we're in hot clothes. We're in tracky pants, and we've been in these clothes now for like 48 hours or something. Like, we have no change of clothing, nothing.
And all I wanted was a shower.
Yeah.
And we actually, in one of the airports, we did get into an airport lounge for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the showers were fully booked out, which sucked. But anyway, we got to Bali, we landed, we went straight into Kuta, Bali, and went shopping and brought some clothes for Harvey, me, you, and Noah. And I ended up working out with the bags what had happened. They'd actually sent our bags on the next flight out. So the same airline, the next flight out, and we didn't go on the next flight out. So our bags went ahead of us. And then when I got to the next, when I actually got on that waiting list plane, I said to the lady 100 times, please make sure our baggage, let me check. I had all my stickers. I kept all my shit. I never keep my shit. I always throw stuff in the bin. Kept it all, showed her the numbers, and she was like, yep, your bags are downstairs. We'll make sure they go on this plane. I'm like, please, make sure those bags go on this plane. Yes, sir, no worries, all good. And I'm like, it's just like, look, I'm not going to name the airline because it's not what we do, but also, this shit has never happened to us.
Never happened to us.
So,
but what I can say through all of this is, first of all, our amazing resilience to just laugh through most stressful things. Like this would be very, very stressful with someone else. For us,
people would have blown up over it. It was a crazy 48 hours.
We were just laughing. I am so blessed for our kids. We have phenomenal kids. Like for a 4-year-old to have no tantrums, no crying. He wasn't out. He was just like, he would go to sleep on me, would sleep on the plane, would sleep on the floor. He would be playing on his iPad. Like he was just absolutely fantastic. Noah is an amazing 15-year-old.
He's with Harvey
great helping out. None of us were blowing up. We were just laughing through it, and it was just like, it was comical.
It was almost like when the next thing happened, it was like, of course. Like, and then we just laugh.
We would just like laugh.
Of course.
Yeah.
So after that, we get into Bali, we go to our villa, we get to our villa. How amazing was it? The villa we're in now is so amazing. You see it on our stories and in our content, but like we were just...
This villa will always have a special place for me because... I'll be honest, when I was in Houston, I myself didn't feel safe in Houston. I felt really out of sorts. I was very, I had so much jet lag. I had someone knock on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wanting to use the charger.
To get into my house.
Where there was like a pub across
you know, and one thing I've learned also is that I think when I'm in America, I probably won't do Airbnbs, more hotels. I think it's a safer option. So that's one thing that we learned and stuff like that. Well, our area was nice. We had a nice area.
Yeah.
But the house was okay too. The area, yeah, everything else.
Just across the road from a busy
Everything
pub.
else was fine. Okay. But my main thing is here that I didn't feel safe in Houston. And so when I went through all of this stuff, you know, we just wanted to get back to Bali. When I got into my villa, my nervous system naturally reset. It just dropped in. And I felt so amazing. We ate really nice food that night. I was staying in my beautiful villa. I ordered a massage, had a massage. We went to sleep. An hour later, we slept for 10.5 hours. You, me, and Noah and Harvey all woke up at the same time, 10:30 in the morning. And I just had this massive sense of safety. And I think that was one thing
as well.
One thing that truly reminded me when we were going through all of this and how I felt in Houston and how I've actually felt over the last probably few months is that my number one value system is safety. And if I feel safe, I can do anything. But if I don't feel safe, that is when the fight or flight comes in. I'm on edge 24/7. And if I have my kids with me, I'm on more edge because you're in mother protective mode. You know, you're a lioness, you know.
But so we also, that's right. And we also we did a big family trip to Japan. Before that, we ran our We Be Success retreat in Niseko, Japan. So we were traveling without the kids. Then we met the kids at the airport with your mum. And then we stayed in Tokyo for one night. And then all my family came. And that was just, every day was an adventure and heck, non-stop. And then we went to Houston and that was non-stop. We went to the rodeo. We did we seen Lizzo live. Like that was awesome. But, you know, as much as it's all fun and stuff, it's non-stop. And you're also an introvert. And when we got back to Bali, one of the first things you did was took yourself out to Ubud, to the forest, and did a full week's work on yourself. Yeah. And talk to us about that.
I disconnected from everyone, from work, from community. And one thing for any high achiever out there, business owner, entrepreneur, mom, you know, anyone that's, you know, just working, go 24/7. And I feel like that is really our generation. It's our community now in the world and how we all live. It's super important to see the signs. And so for me, I took myself out to Ubud. I needed to disconnect from everyone, and I'd been go for so long. And so this is how it kind of went down. First day, I was like, yes, I love this. I'm by myself and like, you know, just allowing myself to soak in with silence. And, you know, I wasn't checking my phone. I was hardly on socials. Second day was like nice. I went and got massages and enjoyed that. Third day, boom. And it was like instant depression. And for any high achiever can truly understand this. You know, a lot of us that are successful in our businesses and in our lives are built on trauma. you know. And so when we're workaholics, I'm definitely a workaholic, and I'm very much aware of it. I've got two sides to that. I feel like there's seasons in work, but me personally, and anyone that's an entrepreneur, I'm obsessed with work and I love it, but I also know it's a distraction. And so day 3, I was like, I need to do something. Like, I was really, really down, and it's because I'm pulling off the busyness, the distractions, I have got time now not to focus on work, so all of that's coming off, because when you're a workaholic, you're putting a lid on things. You're like, I don't have time to deal with that because I've got this. I don't have time to fall apart here because I've got to do this. So, and you're showing up for every single person, especially when you're in this type of leadership role, when you're in a position of coaching others, when you are inspiring and motivating others, when you're giving to others. It's very common for coaches and therapists and practitioners and facilitators not to pour into their own cup, because they're
That's exactly
giving.
what we teach.
Yeah, so they're giving so much. So that's why it's super important to see the signs.
Because they give, and it's exactly what it's called. It's called a fucking breaking point for a reason, because it takes one thing for the kids or whatever to snap that nervous system band, and that's why it's really important to do our own regulation and things like that. But like you said with the coaches is, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so many people are like, even our clients, they're like, my kids, my this, my business. I'm telling you, you're going to hit breaking point if you don't follow the leadership that we teach, and it's you first, business second, you first, kids second. Like, once you fill up that own cup, you can, and you notice it, you're very good at it, and you'll go and do the work, which is great. But back to what you were saying before, like the number one coping mechanism, or the number one addiction, even if you want to call it an addiction, is keeping busy. For a lot of people, like even the scrolling on the phones, that is a form of keeping busy.
Yeah.
Doing something, avoidance. The number one avoidance is like to not be in your head, to distract, to do whatever, is keep your mind busy in another area of pleasure or frustration, or even like, someone who doesn't want to live inside their head would rather be frustrated in work and stressed out in work than actually be quiet and live in their head.
Well, because the silence is deafening.
That's right.
And I think that's number one thing. And on day 3 is when I was like, okay, cool. Like, I rung Bo, and I was like just crying and crying and crying. And, and I feel blessed because I do have a partner that can hold space for me and who doesn't take things personal, who is... And he knows me through and through exactly what's happening. He understands. So, it's kind of like, having your personal therapist with you 24/7, which is beautiful. And I think that's, another reason probably how we've got through so many, things in our life and the dark side and things. But day 3, I took myself away and I did a breathwork session. I did hypnotherapy with some people out in the wood. And this breathwork session that I had, I did 9D, and I'm not a big fan of 9D. I don't like the headphones and things like that. This session was really, really awesome. And what I liked about it, I had to do all the things I don't actually like doing. So one of the things is eye gazing. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. We teach it in our events and things like that, but I personally don't like it. And I had to sit there and, one of the questions was like, what do you wish you could be more of? And for me, it was actually that, I wish I could have more fun and be more fun. And, it's been definitely a thing in our relationship where, I want my kids to go and have fun and you to have fun, but there's so much fear around things for me because I don't want anything to happen to my kids. I don't want anything to happen to anyone. So then I'm trying to control the situation and prevent something from happening, which then means don't have fun because, you might get hurt. So all of those things were coming up. And one thing that was really interesting in my breathwork session was I was in my deep in my somatic release, and I couldn't release through my throat. So there was no sound, and I felt blocked. And I actually felt, I suffer with migraines, and I lose all sense of self. I lose all mobility, and I get numb. And my throat started to close up. And I know because I've in the work, and I was like, what are you not speaking? What are you not saying? What do you need to say? And then the guy came across and he pushed on my chest, and he pushed on it so hard and was doing some body work on stuff on me. And it was actually so painful what he was doing. And then all of a sudden, my throat released, and the loudest, most deepest yell scream just came out, and it just wouldn't stop. It just kept coming. And then I started saying, I'm not afraid anymore, I'm not afraid anymore. And all of this release was happening. And it was the most crazy, beautiful experience that I needed. And then after that, I went into a hypnotherapy session. So I did back-to-back sessions. But from there, day 5, then I started to regulate again. Day 6, starting to feel a little bit. Day 7 was fantastic. And then I had this moment of like, I feel so blessed that we can fall apart. Like, we're in a position where we can fall apart, take ourselves away for a week. And not many people can do that. And I guess that's going to be coming on after here. She's actually flying in today, and I cannot wait to tell you her story. And we're going to talk about this. It's going to be the next episode. But she said to me, I wish that I could go and do that. I wish I could do that. And I said, well, then just do it. And she goes, I don't think you understand, Kirsty. I financially cannot do it. And then something insane happened a week later, and you're going to hear her story next, but it's going to blow your fucking mind how quickly you can shift once you get out of your own way. So after this, after my big breakthrough, multiple things have happened this week. So we've had opportunities coming left, right, and center. We've had doors closing, ones opening, and that's why it's so important to go into the work, guys. It's why it's so important to understand, as a high achiever, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to take the time to slow down to speed up. It is not a nice to have. It's part of your strategy. It's super important. It's one thing to have a business or even the best product or service. But let's be real. When no-face Jackie32 jumps on Instagram throwing those nasty comments and you make it mean something about you, it doesn't matter how good your business is, you will crumble. That's why you need us.
Welcome to We Breathe Success, the ultimate experience for aspiring business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches who are ready to break through to the next level.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Waddingham.
And I'm Bo Drury.
We're not just any mindset business mentorship. We are the world's best when it comes to mindset, breakthrough, and transformation.
Our approach combines breakthrough breathwork, powerful mindset techniques, manifestation, and strategic business coaching, setting you up for each week for success and action.
If you're truly serious about unlocking explosive growth, you're in the right place.
Success starts with one essential foundation, your mindset. Without it, even the best business strategies will fall apart.
That's why we go deeper than traditional coaching. We offer advanced biohacking and mindset reprogramming.
Your network is your net worth, and now you have access to ours. With all of this, success isn't just a possibility, it's your only option.
We're here to help you break through your old limits, step into extraordinary success, and create unstoppable momentum for growth. We cover it all: mindset, somatic strategy, community, and connection.
So are you ready to be the leader, visionary, and powerhouse that you were meant to be? Click the link below. Let's book a call. Amazing. And I just want to talk on my point of view of holding the space for you through that week. So as a man, you know, we're hunters, we're protectors, we're fixers. We want to make everything better. And when we can't, sometimes we get angry or we feel like we're not good enough. And that's something that I definitely worked through like 6 years ago with you, knowing that sometimes I can't fix everything and make everything better for you. And that's okay, but I can hold space and support you as a man. And it was really interesting because, and I think a lot of people relate to this, is like when you're depressed or when you're like feeling really, you got some mental health days or whatever, and when you've got something to relate it to, like you just lost your job or you had a family member die, or you know you've got something going on in your life that be causing the anxiety and the nervous system dysregulation, it's okay because you can sit in like, you know, this is the reason, even though we shouldn't blame our external world for affecting our internal world as part of self-mastery, but at the same time, at least we can be like, well, I know the reason why I'm feeling like fucking shit. Mm-hmm. And for you, you know, it's really confusing because when you start to peel back all these layers and you feel this darkness, this heaviness, this depression, you know, and you go into this place, you call me and you be like, I've got a good life. Like, why do I feel like this? And that hurts me. Like, it makes me emotional talking about it because I know in that moment that I can't fix you. Mm. And that's in the moments where I go, look, babe, just feel your feelings, feel your emotion, take your time. Like, I got the business, I got the kids. You know this will pass. Like, check your cycle. Where are you at, on the cycle? Where this may be connected to your monthly, emotions and feelings.
My
and
monthly meltdown.
Hormones or whatever. Like, and just don't question it. Just say you're allowed to break down. Like, and then I try and go back and make sense of it. I'm like, man, we've just traveled so far. Since Dubai, you haven't had a break. We've had this. Since
my surgeries, before then.
And you're very good at, and most entrepreneurs are very good at going 100 miles an hour and just avoiding everything, all the chaos. And then it eventually catches up. And I'm like, just sitting. I said, you're doing all the right things. And then the worst thing is you start missing your family. So you're like, I'm fucking, I miss Harvey. I miss you. Like, I want to go have a drink. I want to cuddle. I want to wake up in the bed with Harvey. Like, and I'm like, I get that. I know that. But you need to do this for you. And that's really confusing because you're like, I shouldn't feel like this. I've got a great life, great clients, great business. I love my family. Like, I literally live everyone's holiday on my dream. And I'm like, yeah, and that's okay. Like, you're a human being, you know what I mean? So
well, that's the thing, that because those are external things and it's an internal game. And I think we get very caught up on, like, I shouldn't feel this way because I have X, Y, and Z. But when you're in a DV relationship or an addiction or in depression or in something toxic, that makes sense. You know why. You can pinpoint it. But when you can't pinpoint it because there's multiple reasons why you feel the way you feel, that's the confusing part. And also, my biggest advice here is that, guys, you don't always have to make sense of everything. And I think our brains logically want to make sense of why we feel in a certain way or why we did that or whatever. But sometimes it's just like, you just need to feel your feelings and actually just allow yourself to drop into that.
Process them.
Yeah, and process them and start trying to make sense of all the things.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're just having a shitty day because you're having a shitty day. If you're having a shitty week, then that's when we start going, okay, cool, what's going on?
But how many entrepreneurs go, I don't have time to have a shit day?
Yeah, me.
I don't have time to fucking be sad. And
yeah.
Boom, boom,
and
boom,
I think there was another thing,
going.
like I allowed the space this time to have time. When we came back to Bali in January, I had time, but I chose not to have time because I filled it with other things and I had a lot of stuff going on with staff. And so this time I was like, I have the space to take some time out.
You don't want to take the time when you're busy or feeling good. That's the problem. Then it catches up with you.
Yeah.
But let's just talk as well. It's like you're a huge introvert. You get coins by being with your family or even having some alone time or even just like being in the room by yourself, for a few hours, and you come out rejuvenated and like, now the family can talk to me, you know, like where you're like, God, everyone get out of my space. But like you went out with some friends the other night, you had a few drinks, like a few glasses of wine, and you came home and your energy shifted the next day. And I asked you the question, and I said and I pushed you to go out. I pushed you to go to Ubud, and you do the same for me. When you sit me down, you're like, please go out with your friends. And I'm like, I don't want to. And you want to isolate, and you're stressed about work, and like the kid, like Harvey drives you crazy. Everything annoys you. Like, it doesn't matter. Everything's just annoying you, and you need to get out of your head. And you go out and you hang out with your friends and you talk and you have a few drinks and some good food and you come home and you feel it, eh? Yeah. You're like, yes.
You're in a different state. It's a state change. Again, it's just a different state change.
So I asked you the question the next day. You were like, maybe I'm manic. Because you were like,
well, what was the question you asked me?
I asked you, I said, do you think that you're feeling a lot better today because you actually went out and had some friends and you
also, well, the question actually was, do you think if you hadn't gone out last night, do you think you'd still feel like depressed today?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like, because I removed myself out of that situation. I'm not a person who needs a lot of friends. I've always been there, and everyone's always come to me. And this time I had to go out, and me and one of my other friends, she was like, I didn't want to come either. We were all kind of in the same thing. And then we just had the best night. And we all just talked about all things. We talked about business. We talked about future stuff, guys, sex, love, money. We talked about it all. And it was such an awesome time. So I literally got there at 6. I think we left at like midnight. That is unheard of for me. Yeah. Like, you were like, are you all right? Like, what's going on? Like, the house is burnt down. Like, like, what's going on? Yeah. You sent me a photo of like my room is blown up.
I used AI to put the bed on fire, and I said, the bed's caught fire, where are you?
Yeah, where are you?
But then you didn't reply, and then you were like...
Well, I didn't reply because I was so with my friends. And it's super important, guys, to remember this, that fun is a strategy as well. It's part of life, and when we get so caught up in all the mundane things of life, you have to sit back, and we do life audits all the time. I do life audits, family audits, client audits, business audits, what's working, what's not, what do I like, what I don't, and we're changing so fast. You know, we're consistently quantum leaping. Sometimes we quantum leap so fast that as we're building up one thing, we've already got to the second thing that we've already gone past that.
Yeah, we're already like we work on one building, and then we're like, I don't want to build this building anymore, and we start a new foundation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So and I feel blessed that we can always pivot and shift with the times. And I also teach everyone in my community that they get to see it in live time, and it gives them permission to be like, oh, I don't have to stay on that path. I can change. You know, I think that's super important as leaders to be able to show all sides. And I also, you know, showed them when I went to a wood, like this was actually what was going on. You know, like it's impossible to stay on all the time, and we forget that. And most of the time, entrepreneurs and business owners and mums and all dads, we don't do anything until we're at breaking point.
Yeah, and that's like we met Brian Mark in Houston and Kirsten.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were traveling with their family. He was speaking on stage, and he's like, go, guy as well. And he put up a post saying, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I don't usually talk about it till I'm after it, but today I'm taking accountability, and I'm not good today. And I'm struggling, and it's hard, and it's like, and it's real, and it's raw, and it's like, it's strategic as well, but at the same time, it's like you build trust because you're like, well, he doesn't lie, he doesn't talk shit. Like, you love
I've never
seeing
felt,
people
and I felt,
who are real.
I resonated with that because that was me, and I was going through that exact time in my life when I was in Houston.
And it gave you that permission to be like, yep, but at the end he said, but I know everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to give myself the time, and then I'm going to get back on the horse. And that's like, I messaged Brian Mark, and I was like, bro, please allow me to do some breath work with you.
Yes.
Like, I'll change your life, brother.
That's exactly right.
But I just, on that as well, I want to talk a bit about you talking about a life audit, because like I believe that everything has a strategy, right? So everything has a strategy. To be happy, there's a strategy to being happy. So you think about the happiness, like to bake the perfect cake, there's a recipe, perfect amount of X, Y, and Z. You got to add things at different times, blah, 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 to get that end result, that cake, right? Same thing as happiness. You've got to take time. You've got to do your breath work. You got to do things. There's a perfect way and strategy for each person to find that happiness. And it might be the same.
That's sick, right?
It might be the same exact strategy and amount of this and amount of that, but there is a strategy.
That cake will be, and I like that you bring that cake up because you can make 50,000 types of different chocolate cakes. For instance, some are going to be moist and fluffy. Some are going to be dense and hard, and so it requires the.
But not if you ace the strategy, it'll come out the same every single time.
Yes, so that's what I mean. So sometimes you have to adjust and change.
Oh yeah,
you know,
each ingredient to get
that moist, to get that fluffiness. You know, and also, you know, like, and that's what you got to do with happiness. Happiness is like a combination. Like for me, for happiness is a combination of my relationship, of my family, of work, you know, all of those types of things.
But what I'm getting at is there's also a strategy to become rich, to make money. There's a perfect strategy that you need to follow from now until the future, that a certain amount of things that you have to do to become rich. But guess what? There's also a strategy to be depressed. If you want to be depressed, there's a perfect recipe and strategy, step by step, for you to do certain things to become depressed. Or change that strategy a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you become anxious. Change it a little bit more. And that's the thing, like everything in life has a recipe or a strategy to complete something, whether it be that cake, whether it be happiness, everything's energy. And I think the problem is a lot of people aren't taught the right strategies from kids, and that's why we teach, the breath work, the 9 pillars of life, the nervous system regulation, and one of the main key things which everyone bangs on about these days but don't actually follow the correct strategy for it is mindset. Like mindset gets me through anxiety so much more now, because it's almost like when I feel symptoms of anxiety like I did last week, I know that I probably would have sat in really bad mental health for about 12 months, 10 years ago. But now that I know that I have breath work and I know that I have 9 pillars of life that I've created and the tools that I have, I almost go into my head and go, well, if the anxiety symptoms that I'm feeling get any worse, I can just do breath work. So then I kind of don't go into the vortex. I kind of move away from it. But then if it is bad, then I can do the breath work that will get rid of it. So it's like the belief system. If you believe that anxiety and health anxiety and stress and all these things, you'll literally manifest those feelings.
Well, you amplify. You'll fuel that. And I think and let's talk about mindset for a second. Mindset isn't like affirmations and,
Manifestation.
And manifestation is like, you have to do the fucking work as well as manifest. That's how you get manifestation. It's not sitting on a rock and going, I wish I was a millionaire, and so mindset is actually doing things to switch the frequency, to change the way that you're thinking, the thought patterns, to go from like, there'll be times we'll be sitting there and we'll do like we'll be talking about stuff and then I'll be like, okay, let's start talking about this. Like, this is not, and adding benefit to our life. This is energy. Let's stop complaining. Let's shake it up, and we'll get up and we'll shake it up. And when we do something amazing, we'll run up and we'll high five and we'll get that energy. When we're sitting in that low energy, we'll be like, okay, cool, that's enough. Like, let's shake this off now.
But
so we're consistently pulling ourselves out of that to shift faster. And there's so many things that you can do to get yourself out of that. It's not manifestation. It's not mindset sitting in a mirror doing some affirmations. That's not what mindset is about. Mindset is about changing the state fast. It's about changing the path fast. It's about changing that frequency fast.
Important thing to that is like the people you hang around. So if you hang around people with a negative mindset and they're, something happens and they go to, oh yeah, of course me, then that's a learnable behavior as well, and your learnable mindset as well. And if you hang out with people or you have parents that like something happens and are like, that's okay, we're going to build on that, or this will teach us what it needs to teach us to grow, then that's the outlook and feelings you're going to have in life. And those thoughts turn to feelings, those feelings turn to emotion turns to your behavior or your actions, which, acquire your decision making, which that's how your life's going to turn out. So mindset for me is like, you could just read 100 books and then the next time your challenge comes, your mind goes to, those 100 books told me to be positive in a shit situation. So, all right, I guess everything's going to be okay. And then you start to see it actually work, and then you believe it so much that now your mindset doesn't go to that old emotion or feeling or not good enough or not worthy or the fear or the gut sinking feeling. You go to this other positive.
And you have to train your mind.
Yeah, like 100%.
You have to train your mind like a muscle, guys. And I cannot say this enough. You've got to train your mind like a muscle. So your mind is naturally designed to see negatively. It's naturally designed to see all the things that could go wrong or hurt you. That's why you have fight or flight. That's why you're always in defense. That's why you're always in negativity, because your mind is designed to attract that and to prevent you from getting into danger. So in order to change that, you have to challenge your mind. Yeah. When that fear comes up, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, I see you, not today. All right, cool, that's okay. It's worked out before, it's going to work out again. When you start to train that mind, like for me, I would be in the worst situations ever, and people were like, man, your resilience and your mindset is so rock solid. It's insane. When I was out with my girlfriends the other day, we were talking about it, and what I really loved was actually my friend Tatum. She said to me, hey, let's go around the table and say the three things the three biggest strengths we see in each other. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this. Like, this is the type of, conversations we're having in this friendship. And, and both of them said to me was, your way of thinking is just unmatched. The way that you just pull yourself out of situations, the way that you can visualize and see something and then do the damn thing. I've never met someone who actually says they're going to do something and actually goes ahead and does it. If you say something, it's so insane, like it will be happening straight away. But also the way that you can pull yourself out of a situation is just insane. And I was like, that's interesting. And that comes from being in the lowest low and going to rehab at 19 years old. I'm 41 now, so I've been training that mind muscle for so many years, and being at 21 years old, 20 years old, picking up my first self-development book. And I've been training that muscle for 20 years, and don't get me wrong, you can still go backwards. That's why you have to train the muscle. It's just like if you go to the gym, you're going to look good for, while you're going. But if you stop going after a couple of years, what happens? You become fat and floppy. Yeah. Right? But so you got to train the muscle.
Mindset hacks combined with the tools like breathwork and other nervous system regulation tools, I think is like the secret sauce to getting yourself to where you want to be. Like, people either do one or the other. They work all on the mindset and they leave the nervous system. And as you said, when you're in fight or flight mode, you're only going to think negatively. A lot more fear is going to come up. Your unconscious mind is looking for threats. Your amygdala is literally programmed to look for threats that may hurt you. So a business deal that scares you, you're going to pull away from. Going on stage, you're going to avoid that. Like, you know what I mean?
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. So yeah, look, and these are all things we're about to start teaching, and we're going to bring out some things that we're going to talk about. But I'm excited, and I just want to see people win, and I want to see other people help other people. I want to create leaders that help others and do the work.
That's it. Awesome. All right, well.
Cool episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for listening in. If you got anything out of today, please like, share, comment, or tag us, or open up a conversation. We'd love to hear it. Big love from all of us.
Big love.
Let's go.